Welcome to the 47th episode of the Decompression Chamber. I always have a puzzled expression on my face when I'm trying to recall it, and I watch that back every time, so have fun, future Mario. In any case, I'm your host, Mario, in case I didn't say that, and the opening quote today is going to be from a film called The Great Dictator, which is one where Charlie Chaplin makes fun of Hitler, pretty much. But there's a really awesome speech at the end, and I suggest you listen to it, because it's such a moving just piece of, like, not just the speech itself but the scene, and one of the versions I listen to on YouTube mixes it with the song Time by Hans Zimmer from Inception, and it's amazing. And anyway, I've digressed. The quote goes like this: "Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent and all will be lost." Roll the intro.
Like into me, no doubt that I'll never be without my damn brain. Closed mouth, I'm clever and I know my damn shame. No cloud to the better, no one know my damn name. No bow, that's your what I guess we about to cascade.
So yeah, there's literally so much to that quote, that speech, that can apply to the modern day. Even though it's literally just about, I think the film must have been made in the 40s, or screw me for not being historically aware of that. But in any case, there's so much of that speech which still applies today. It talks about the way things that we as humans in the last century have managed to make so many processes more efficient, and be able to access different resources in ways that we never have before, and yet there's still so much that we choose not to fix. There's still so many issues that we overlook, and I like what it says about our cleverness being too hard and uncaring, and we think too much and we feel too little. That's the bit I like the most. But I don't know. I think for me, I was kind of having a conversation with someone earlier this week, like that emotional awareness thing. Once you flick the switch on, it's hard to flick off. Once you're aware of your emotions and how they play into each other and what they're affected by and how they affect what you do, it's like, from my perspective, as soon as I started paying attention to it, it was this whole new spectrum of things that affected my life, and yeah, I just think it's kind of strange how, well, an example is there's no food shortage that leads to world hunger. Hunger isn't caused by lack of resources. It's caused by poor distribution of resources across us as a species. Probably just in this country that I'm in alone has enough food to feed, way more people than it currently does, but it's just the way that we've decided to organize our systems means that there's still lots of people who get left out. There's still lots of people who get done over poorly. Something that I think about a lot is obviously the Israel-Palestine conflict's been in the news recently, and for years, but before I was aware of it politically, it was presented to me as a kind of, both sides are doing bad things kind of situation. And it's like, now that I've gotten a bit older and I've become more informed about it, and you see how clearly Israel has been, not just oppressing people within its own state in terms of their race and their cultural origin, but also the way that they've been continually oppressing and killing and brutalizing people in Palestine is disgusting. And obviously, the media, which benefits greatly from a lot of what I should have said in that previous sentence, is that the media has a status quo bias, which is to say that a large-scale media corporation, a lot of you, this ain't new to you, but in general, the system is made to keep the same system going. The media and major institutions and establishments in our country work together to make sure that the people at the bottom stay there. And, all the shit that we do overseas, they want you to either not think about it or think that it's actually not too bad, Because, there's lots of pro-Israel lobbying in our government. There's lots of pro-Israel lobbying in the US as well, which, I'm not going to be able to inform you any more than, you can yourself with a couple of Google searches. I guess I would say that I'm stunned by how, when I was younger, I saw it as like, oh, well, Israel's doing a lot of bad stuff, but, I've seen some stuff where Palestinians are creating a lot of harm and what I might have considered terrorism back at the time. And now when I look at it with a new context, I realise that, I was duped. I was led to believe that it was just like, well, there's a lot of conflict going on, but I guess if you're trying to kill people, you're not a great person. But, when you see the fact that Israel's been pretty much stepping on the throat of Palestine and just squeezing all the air out of their life, and some of the videos and photos I've seen, it's so harrowing, and yet I know that doesn't even compare, like, even near to the actual real life experience. So it's just one of those things, and the problem as well is that I'm just talking about this because it's in the zeitgeist. It's on my Instagram stories. It's on the news when I check it on my phone. The reality is there's shadow wars going on in Africa. There's still this horrible stuff going on in Syria. The Uyghur Muslims are being there's a genocide being committed in China that we kind of talk about. And there's probably so much that I don't know about. Cultural oppression, racial issues, LGBTQ communities across the world getting discriminated against. It's a chaotic and horrible world, and I can only be so grateful that I'm in the position that I am. I'm safe, I'm financially stable, I'm relatively healthy and happy. Overall, it does put a lot into context for me, and I guess as a filmmaker and hopefully part of the media in the future, it makes me think, what can I do with the power that I have as a person is more than just what I can do physically. It's where I can direct people's attention. It's what message I can send, And I guess now that I'm in the early stages, I'm still deciding what I want to do, what I want to be. The important questions is what message do I want to tell? And how can I most benefit the world, And that's a very broad question. How can I most benefit the world? Like, you might think I can most benefit on the world by focusing on myself and developing my skills and improving my perspective and becoming more informed so that I can then use those tools to have greater effect. Or, am I doing better of the world than by, being outside of myself, focusing on others who need help, Yeah, just there are lots of different ways that question could be answered, and I guess there's not really a clear thing. It's the way you feel in the moment, and it's a cliche, but a lot of the time you figure out what you do want to do by realizing you do something and you look back and you go, why the fuck did I do that? Like I picked everybody looked at me strangely when I told them this while I was doing them, but I did maths, chemistry, and film studies for A level. And I think now looking back, I can realize why that was dumb, because I didn't like maths, I didn't like chemistry, and I liked film, and that's why I picked film. And the other ones I picked because I did well at them at GCSE, and I thought, well, they'd be good to have. The most dangerous quote in a fucking early sixth form student's mind is, quote unquote, it would be a good A level to have. It's a terrible idea. Never follow that quote. That's never a good reason to pick an A level. If for whatever reason somebody who's watching this hasn't picked their A levels and is going to, or if anybody uses the phrase, quote, it would be a good A level to have, just like alone in that with no context, no kind of link to the future or the reasons why you're interested in a subject, terrible idea. Stop, rewind, and rethink what you're doing, because given the chance, I would definitely not have picked maths for A level. I would probably not have picked chemistry. And that's just that's the way life works, I remember using the opening quote in one of my videos ages ago, the fact that life can only be lived forward but understood backwards, and yeah, so that's the thing as well, is I think a lot of the time in my life I've spent so anxious and worried that I'd do wrong, that I'd step out of line and get called out for it, that I ended up choosing doing nothing, And the reality is you don't just miss out by not getting to do something. You miss out by not figuring out what's right to do and what's wrong to do in those kind of senses. And I say overall I've lived a very good and privileged life, but I think if I was to change something about the way I've been living, particularly in the period where I had more autonomy, I'd say that when there are moments to actively pursue something, to do something, to chase it, to, step up and make the action, I wish I had done that more. And so I use that as an instructive moment. So, for example, in the Easter holidays this Easter, I could have done work, I could have, worked on my own independent creative projects, but I didn't. I was just lazy, I was just bored, I did nothing, I wasted time. Well, I spent time with friends and family, and, there was stuff I did, but in terms of what I really want to make out of this year, what I really want to do with myself, but I didn't make any meaningful progress. And for example, even if it's just a walk where I go outside and I think of ideas that I might want to do creatively, or I think of a sketch, or I write something that a couple of lines, even something would help, because then oh, okay, I'm kind of misaligned here. So it's not to say that I regret those moments, but it's not to say that I don't regret those moments. The only thing that I can do is, as I look at where I am now, I finished all my examinated work, I finished my graded work, and yet I'm doing research on a video essay I want to do. I'm thinking about finishing filming the short film that I've been talking about for ages, and which isn't going to be that good, but it's the act of doing and redoing that is going to help me improve. But yeah, you can only look forward. You can only focus on the things you can control, And it's frustrating because there's a lot of things that will annoy you in life. There's a lot of things that will be obstacles, or, that you can't control. And being able to accept that is such a tough process. It's probably one of the toughest processes you can go through, really. At least from my perspective, is being able to learn and accept things that you can't control. Being able to just let go, The Life of Pi, I remember one of the quotes, he says something like, the act of life becomes an act of letting go. Or I'm butchering the quote, but in essence, a lot of what I think about is, when I'm thinking of something, I'm like, is this really something that I should be worried about? Can I control this? Is this an issue for me? And a lot of the time it's like, yeah, it's an issue, but sorry, you can't fix it, mate. Sorry, you're just going to have to deal with it. And that's just the way it is, Sometimes you just have to sit back and be like, oh, I guess that sucks. And honestly, I feel like I'm getting better at it. And I guess what I'm wary of is I don't want to develop like an outer shell of indifference or not caring, but it's just like, sometimes you just have to accept things the way they are, And that depends on your own personal judgment. I'm never going to be able to say clearly what those right moments are and what those wrong moments are, but it's just something to think about. But yeah, in any case, it's been weird. It's been one of those days for me where I haven't necessarily got a huge amount done. Like, it hasn't been like a landmark progress day, but things are in motion. I had a FaceTime call with one of my friends, Theo, earlier today. Shout out, if you're watching this, you're a legend. But yeah, and even just a small conversation like that, it changed the way I saw the day. I was like, yeah, that was great. Now let's go on to the next thing. Before I spoke to him, I was just kind of a bit idle and lazy, and then I was like, yeah, that was a good thing, and let's do another good thing. Let's get this rolling, And yeah, so later this afternoon, I went on I think it was 11-kilometer run, which I don't say that to brag, because there's loads of people who can run way better than me. But for me, it felt like a good improvement, because the last one I did was 9 kilometers. So I'm trying to make progress, trying to make movement. You do and you redo. There's this doesn't apply directly, but there's a really good French film called Le Choriste. It's a film about like a teacher who teaches like boarding school kids to sing in a choir. But very famously, the head teacher, he goes, action, réaction, which is to say that the students act, and then you have to react strongly to counteract that action. And I guess I have to action, reaction myself. Something I've talked about in these videos is that the process of adulthood is like becoming your own parent in a way. There's a lot of parts of growing up where, you have that parental, or at least I had that parental figure to say, yeah, do this or don't do that. And now it's like, I have to do that to myself. I have to step back, look at what I'm doing and be like, listen, Mario, is this helping you make progress in a meaningful way towards your goals? Is it bettering your health or the way you act as a person? Is it making you more philosophically enlightened? I mean, all of those questions are murky, all of them are uncertain, but the truth is, I'm earnestly looking with hope towards the future. I'm trying to make mobilized action towards those goals that I have, and I'm also just trying to look around and enjoy life. You know, I was running through the Wiltshire countryside, just big fields of grass and, you know, different crops and that, and I was just like, it's a beautiful blue sunny afternoon, and I'm just glad to be out here in nature, living and enjoying and experiencing. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope that when you watch this, you can look at your own life and appreciate how lucky you are, because I know for sure that I'm lucky just for you watching this video. So thank you very much. I hope you have a very pleasant whatever, and I'll see you in the future.
I don't want to give myself no option, so I drop the visor just to